Would you like to start plants from seeds the easy way? Did you know that you can do this outdoors when there's snow on the ground? Stay tuned and I will show you how to do it. For all things food related, please subscribe to my channel and hit the bell button so that you are notified every Wednesday when I release a new video. It is February 27th and we have snow on the ground. Today I'm going to plant some seeds in containers and put them outdoors for them to grow on their own. This is called winter sowing. And this is a wonderful technique because it requires very little effort on your part. There are no grow lights and these plants will actually harden themselves off. So this is a perfect way to start seeds. First, you're going to need containers. You are going to want opaque or clear containers so that the light will shine through. You're going to want taller containers versus these shorter containers. These shorter containers can be used, but they don't allow a lot of height for the plant to start growing in the container. So I wouldn't recommend these for outdoor sowing. What I would recommend these for is if you're going to start seeds indoors or if you're going to do microgreens. So that's likely what I'm going to use these for is microgreens. And these are just takeout containers. This is a strawberry container. We're not going to use these today, but I just wanted to point that out that those can be used. What we're going to be using today are the following containers. So milk jugs that are either opaque. I guess I've never seen a clear milk jug. So milk jugs that are opaque, not the solid colored milk jugs. Those aren't going to do it. You need to do the opaque milk jugs. So any opaque milk jugs or clear water jugs, those would be great. So, or any juice containers. These were apple juice containers. So any of them would work. This was a soda container or a seltzer water container. I'm not sure which one, but these containers will also work. I like these because they're clear. So as you can tell, these have already been cut. So I'm going to explain what you're going to do. What you want to do is first, you will put in holes on the bottom of each container, and depending upon the size of the container, that will dictate how many holes you put in. You'll want to put about 6 holes on the bottom of a milk jug. I had my husband do these for me today, and I had him put in 8 on the bottom of that milk jug. On the bottom of the soda container, I just had him put 1 in every area where there was the little bump. And then on the bottom of these juice containers, I had him put in 4. So you want to put in the holes on the bottom first, and also put holes on the side about 1 to 2 inches from the bottom of the container. You'll want to put about 2 of them on the container. The holes are drain holes, and they're so your plants don't drown. You can put holes in your containers via a couple methods. 1, a drill bit. That's what my husband used. He just used a drill bit. 2, you can use a soldering iron. 3, you could use a hot glue gun. 4, you could use something sharp like the tip of a knife or a scissors. So those are different ways that you can get the holes in there. Just be careful when you do it. Again, you want to do that first. Next, you're going to want to cut a line straight around but not through the container. And this is a perfect example. So you're going to want enough room for about 3 to 5 inches of soil. And with the milk jugs or the water jugs, you actually want to cut it just below this handle. So, and about 2 inches, 1 to 2 inches on this flap. The reason that you want this flap like this is because we're going to fill these with dirt. We're going to put our seeds in, cover with a little dirt. It's going to be watered thoroughly. And we're going to tape this up. When these plants start to get bigger, because they'll start growing in here, this will be like a little greenhouse. You're going to want to be able to open this during the day to acclimate them a little bit to the weather when they start getting big enough. And then you'll close it again at night. So you would, a hinge is a perfect way to do that. So that's why you want that. You don't want to cut it all the way through. You actually want the hinge. You can also reuse these containers year after year. So if they're in 2 different pieces, then you're losing, you know, tops versus bottoms. So keep them together. So with these juice containers, we tried 2 different ways. One was on a corner, so having the corner be able to flip open and close. And then we did it this way as well. You could go the opposite way as well, but we tried just these 2 ways. My husband had a great idea. So you notice how this just kind of stays open, which is why I really like it. And these don't necessarily stay open. And what he had suggested was when you need to open these up, just put some rocks in there to keep it open during the day, something that's heavier. And then you can close it back at night. And I thought, you know, that's a really good idea. So wanted to pass that along for any of you that have already tried this and are just looking for some tips. That would be a great tip. So again, so we have that. And then finally the soda bottle, same thing. We just have about a 2-inch opening and same thing. The reason we want, I mentioned this earlier, but I just want to say it again. The reason you want the taller containers is because these plants are going to grow straight up into this container. This is going to act like a greenhouse. So the more space, the more heat, the more sunlight, the more warmth can be generated in just like a little greenhouse. That's really what this is going to be. When you don't have a lot of head space, you're not going to get that quite as much. Right now I have the lids on, but when we actually put these outside, we are going to take the lids off because we want rain and snow to get inside these containers. When cutting the container, you can use a scissors, an X-Acto knife, whatever tool you have available. Some people have suggested putting a drill hole in, you know, drilling it where you're going to, right before you start cutting, so that you have a way to get your scissors in there, or X-Acto knife. We didn't do that. We just, leaving the tops on actually gives them a little more integrity. So we left the tops on, and then my husband cut them just with an X-Acto knife, and that worked perfect. So just another tip on that. So you can just use an X-Acto knife. You don't have to put the hole in there, but you can, again, drill, a hot glue gun, a soldering iron, those type of things can easily make that hole in there. Also, your scissors or knife can do that as well. Just be careful when you're using the scissors and the knife. Okay, so that's basically what you need to know for containers. The next step is actually filling the containers with the potting soil. So I'm going to pause the camera. I'm going to fill these with potting soil, and then I'm going to come back and explain the process. And I will say before I do that, you want to use a potting soil mix. You do not want to use a seed starter mix. The reason being is these seeds are going to be in these containers for a long time, and they actually need more nutrients than the seed starter mix provides. So potting soil is the way to go. You're going to want your potting soil to be moist, and I'll go over that in a moment when I return. Okay, so I am back from filling these jugs with the potting soil. As you can see, I've already finished these, and I will show you them now, and then I'm actually going to finish this on camera. So what I did was fill them with about 5 inches of soil, and then I put in a marker that I labeled. I can show you here. Each one of them, this is just basically a popsicle stick, and it says exactly what plant is going to go in here. So this is going to be a lettuce, a gourmet blend. I put the date that I'm planting these, and then I put the days to harvest on mine. You can put whatever you want on them. That's just what I chose to do. I did the days to harvest so then I know exactly approximately how many days I can expect to be able to harvest that plant. I label on both sides of the popsicle stick. They have those plastic ones that you can use as well. Those are fine. The reason you want to label inside is because when you label outside, as you see that I've done here, I've labeled it on the outside, the weather can cause it to fade. Obviously sun. So most people will put it either on the bottle itself or on the tape, and also inside, because when this fades, you want to know what you have inside. I have heard of other people actually putting it on the bottom because it's not going to fade there. I chose not to do that because you got the drainage holes on the bottom. I just don't want to deal with that. So I have it just on the duct tape as well as in the little marker inside the bottle. So that's very important. You don't want to forget that. To ensure I didn't forget that, I actually wrote everything on the popsicle sticks prior to even filling these up with dirt. And then I just took the information off the seed packet, and like I said, I put it on both sides so you can see it on either side. Okay. Then after you put that in, you're going to read the back of your seed packet to see how far they need to be planted. So obviously each plant is different. What I did today is I did some mezclun mix, like a lettuce mix, white bunching onions. I did cilantro. So that's what I did in these three. This is going to be a lettuce gourmet blend. I just followed the packets on the seed packet. In regards to how many to plant, with the onions, I just did a broadcast where I just sprinkled them on and then covered them with dirt. Same thing for the cilantro, sprinkled them, covered with dirt. For the lettuce, if you're wanting the greens, like baby greens, you could do the same thing where you're broadcasting it, covering it with dirt. But for the lettuce, what I chose to do for both the mezclun mix and just the regular gourmet blend of lettuce, I chose to make little wells. The recommendation is 6 to 8 wells for a gallon container and about 3 to 4 wells for a half-gallon container. So in the mezclun mix, I did 4, and in the lettuce, the gourmet lettuce, I did 7. So then what you do is you cover them with however much soil it recommends. It was, for this one, it's going to be 1/4 of an inch. So I'm going to put the seeds into the wells. Now, You can just take a pinch and put some seeds in there. You can do whatever you want, but that's what I'm going to do, and then I'm going to cover it. You want to spray the dirt after you cover it up. So this potting soil is already moist. I already added water to it so that it was already wet. I put that in here. Then I put the seeds in, I covered them, and then I sprayed again with some water just to get them nice and wet, because remember, they're going to be sitting in here for a long time. So it really depends on the climate of the outdoors. If you're in a drier climate where you don't have as much snow or rain, they may start to dry out, in which case you can water them. You'll know that they've dried out or are drying out because when you feel them, you know, if you move them around, they're, you know, you can tell when it's dry. They'll start to move a little bit. They won't be clunky and hard like this. Also, you'll see that there's no condensation on the container. That's another indicator that they need some more water. So you can just kind of look at them and just verify if they need water. You could, you know, stick one of these in there and spray them. It depends. Do you have a lot of containers? Today I'm only doing 4. Some people do hundreds of these. So those people, I have seen them actually take a hose and just spray, kind of like normal rainfall, not in, but just kind of broadcasting that rain over the containers. So after you're done with putting the potting soil on top and using the sprayer to get it nice and wet, then what you're going to do is you're going to take duct tape and you're going to want to close off that entire container. 2 things. You want to use duct tape because duct tape stays even in winter and in rain. If you use packing tape, that clear tape, that doesn't stick, doesn't stay in those temperatures and weather. So the duct tape is really your best bet. The reason that you want to duct tape it all the way around is you don't want this being open at all. You don't want to leave any of the elements, you know, you don't want to leave this exposed to any of the elements. Birds, animals, slugs, things like that can get in there. So you want to close it off as much as possible. The recommendation would be just to completely go around the entire container. So that's what I've done. So these are already done and the milk jug is not, so I'm going to go ahead and do those now. I already put the holes in. In the mezclin mix, I got a little carried away. I feel like I got a little too many in there. Now both of these are mixes, which is kind of nice, because you'll get multiple. Okay, so I have the seeds in there. Now, I just took some of that potting soil and I put it in just this little container. I actually filled these containers in my garage so I didn't make as much of a mess inside. Some people have very intricate setups. I'm just doing a few. So, it's at about 1/4 of an inch, and that's about good. Some people will put dry soil on top and then soak it with the sprayer. I just had extra of the dampened soil, so I just added that. But I am going to do the spraying. Okay, so that's it from that perspective. Now what we're going to do is we're going to tape this, and I want to show you how to tape because there's some tricks. And the trick is you're going to start from the front, the opposite side where the hinge is. So you're going to cut your duct tape and then start from the center, because that way then you have half and half. So that is the trick. Okay, I've got my duct tape cut. Well, pulled. Now I'm going to cut it. As I mentioned, you start from the front. Now, with this one, you can go like that, pull the top back, and then just get it started on the bottom. Duct tape can be a bugger sometimes. Okay, so you're going to start on the bottom. So just get it started. You put this over. It's sticking to my hair. Okay, and then you can line it up. And just needs a good seal. Now the taping doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to be closed off from the elements, which this is. So you can see it is taped completely, and there's still room for the side air holes or the drain holes as well. Now you'll take this off, you don't need it. And then this will immediately get put outside. If you leave it inside, it will get dried out pretty quickly. So you want to put this outside. So there you have it. Now I need to label the outside. This, and on the outside, as you can see, I've just been labeling what it is and the date, but I could label the days to harvest as well. All right, easy enough. So I labeled it. Perfect. Now these can go directly into the snow. You don't have to worry about them. They can be covered up completely with snow. They will germinate when nature tells them to germinate. So you really don't have to worry about them after this, aside from when they start to actually sprout. And that's when you'll actually be looking at them a little bit more after they get their true leaves and start sprouting. Then you'll be a little bit more concerned about frosts, but generally speaking, you can leave these out there, not really do anything with it, and they'll be fine. They'll harden off naturally on their own. When they start to get bigger, you'll see them growing up inside of the container. They might even come out of the container prior to transplanting them. So you'll take the tape off, open it up during the day to kind of get them acclimated a little bit, and then you will close it again at night, and you'll do that right before you're going to be putting them into another container. You can also start plants at any time in the winter. So January, February, March, even April, depending upon how cold it is by you. Again, I'm in Wisconsin, January, February, March, totally fine. Probably could even do some in April, early parts of April. So right now I did 4 containers. I could do 4 more containers next week, or 10 or 20. Whenever I get containers, I can do more and just keep adding. There have been people that have done this that have said that they have started seeds at different times, and the seeds will germinate whenever it's their time. So even if they started it in January, say they started the same plant in January and the same plant in February, they germinate in, April, let's say. Don't be so worried about when you're actually starting your seeds. Just start your seeds, get them out there, and nature will take its course. So that was my quick tutorial on winter sowing and how to get your containers started for sowing. Please hit the like button if you found this video helpful, and share it with your friends if you think that they would enjoy learning this as well. Remember, for all things food related, subscribe to my channel and hit that bell button to be notified when I post a new video each week. I want to hear from you. Have you ever tried winter sowing? Or have you only tried starting seeds indoors? After you've heard this video, do you think you'll start to try winter sowing? Let me know in the comments below. Well, that's it for today's video. Good luck with your winter sowing.